this practical exercise, we are gonna check the basic switch configuration. And as you can see that in the picture, we have two switches connected to each other from their Geek 01 ports, and we have 6 steps to accomplish. And let's go ahead with the first step. Configure switch hostnames. I need to open my packet tracer first, and I am getting it to my first switch. The first switch's hostname will be Madrid. To change the hostname, I need to go to the configuration mode on the switch, as you remember. And to go to the configuration mode, first I need to go to the privileged exec mode by typing enable. Now I'm in the privileged exec mode. To go to the configuration mode from here, I need to type conft or configure terminal, whatever you want. I'm in the config mode right now. To change the hostname, my command is hostname. Hostname Madrid. And that's it. Please pay attention that as soon as I hit the enter, hostname changed. Okay, now it's time to go to the second switch and make the same configuration. Enable conft and hostname, which is gonna be Miami for this time. Alright, we're going great again. There's no problem, and we accomplished the first step, check time. In the second step, configure SSH for both switches, what our lab is saying to us, and password's gonna be removed 1, 2, 3. Alright, I'll return to the packet tracer again. And I'm gonna configure SSH. But I need to tell you something more before configuration. As you remember, if I want to connect a device remotely, I have two options to configure. First option is Telnet, and the second one is SSH. Telnet is a unsecure protocol, and SSH is a secure protocol because SSH is encrypting your session while you are connecting to the remote device. So what we offer always is connect via SSH instead of Telnet. So we need to configure the SSH right now. So first I'm going into the Madrid again. As you can see that I'm still in the configuration mode, so I don't need to type enable or configure terminal again. What I'm gonna do is just making the SSH configuration. If you remember from our previous session, to set the SSH up, first we need to define a IP domain name. IP domain name, let's say that it's gonna be network EL. I set my domain name first to define SSH. Then I need to generate crypto key, I need to use some question marks. this guy is not supporting the general keys. Okay, this iOS is a different version. Normally I would type the crypto key generate RSA general keys modulus and 1024 command, but this iOS version is not letting me to type this. Instead of typing that, it's offering me to type the crypto key generate and RSA. When I type enter after this, when I hit the enter, it's asking me that how many bits in the modulus, which we are gonna use the 1024. Okay, now as you can see that our RSA keys were generated, and the second step is defining a username and password, and let's do it. Username, and we have a syslog message in here which says that SSH enabled, which is a good news, but it's not enough. So we are making our other configurations right now. We are defining a hostname and we are defining an username and a password right now. Username Brad and password is remote123. After this, I need to go to the virtual interface, as you remember. For example, let's say that 0 to 15, and I need to type transport input SSH and login local, and that's it. All right, let's go to the Miami now and do the same steps again. First step, let's define a domain name. IP domain name network EL again. The second step is generating the RSA keys. So crypto key generate RSA, and I'm hitting enter now. I'm choosing to create a 1024 bits length key, and my keys were created as you can see. Okay, that's cool. And in the second step, I need to define a username and password. Username Brad again, and as you can see, SSH has been enabled right now. My keys are ready, this means. Username Brad, password. My SSH password would be remote123, which question says to me. And after I'm going to the virtual interfaces, and I need to define that I want to reach these virtual interfaces via SSH using the transport input SSH command and login local. That's it. As you can see that Configuring SSH is very simple. Just we have a few steps that we need to memorize. First, we need to define a domain name. Second, we need to generate our keys. In the third step, we need to define user and password. And in the fourth step, we need to configure the virtual lines. Alright, that's going pretty cool for me, and it's time to take a look to the third step. What third step wants us from to assign 10.41.24.2/24 for Madrid and .3/24 for Miami switch. Third step is saying us to define a management IP for both switches. Okay, I know this switch IPs right now, and it's time to make this configuration. I'm in the config line mode right now, and to configure an interface, I need to go to the interface mode. But as you can remember from the previous sessions, if I want to define a management IP for the switch, I need to assign the IP to the VLAN. Alright, not a physical interface like a router. So I need to first exit. Now it's time to go to the VLAN interface. Interface, VLAN, and question mark. As you can see that I can use this range and I can use whatever I want. And my management VLAN will be 254 this time. As you can see that I'm in the config interface mode right now, but this is not a physical interface. This is a VLAN interface of the switch. And we are going to talk about VLAN on our next sessions. But please keep in mind that never forget this. If you are configuring a layer 2 switch, you need to assign the IP address, management IP address under your VLAN. Alright, let's configure this. IP address, I forgot. Oops, sorry. Alright, I typed my IP address, as you can see, and /24 means 255.255.255.0, and that's it. Let's go to the Miami right now. That's it. As you can see that I made the same configuration for Miami 2. What I did is to define an IP address which is given us in the question, and I defined the subnet mask also, and that's it. Step 3 accomplished. Now let's take a look to the fourth step. Fourth step is saying us to assign 10.41.24.1 as default gateway for both switches. What I want to say in here is, in the question you cannot see a default gateway right now. Let's do something like that. Let's say that here is the exit point of this network. And as you know that, if here is the exit point, so that means that here is the default gateway. So it means that the interface of the router in here will be this IP, but I'm not gonna configure the router in this example. So what I need to do is I'm gonna configure the default gateway for Madrid and Miami as the IP address of the router's interface. All right, let's go. I'm in Madrid right now. Exit. To define a default gateway, the command is this. Pretty straightforward, as you can see, that IP default gateway, and that's it. IP default gateway and IP address of the default gateway. You don't use subnet mask when you define default gateway. Please keep in mind that you can face with this question on CCNA exam. All right. IP default gateway, and that's it. That's it. We are going great, guys, and we accomplished the first step too. And in the last step, question is saying us to check two outputs: show IP interface brief and show CDP neighbors. We are going to use Madrid for the outputs, and to use the show commands I need to go to the privileged exec mode, and let's say that show IP interface brief. As you can see that this is a layer 2 switch and physical interfaces don't have an IP address assigned. What I assigned for this switch is I assigned a VLAN and I configured this IP address for this VLAN, as you remember. Okay, I can verify the IP address configuration using the show IP interface brief command, as you can see. And the second step is checking the output for the show CDP neighbors command. So what I'm expecting to see is getting the details of the directly connected neighbor. So in this example, directly connected neighbor of Madrid is Miami. So I need to expect to see the details of the Miami. Show CDP neighbors, and voila. As you can see that device ID is Miami. My neighbor is Miami, that means. And local interface is my interface. I'm connected via my GIG01 to, this is the remote devices interface, to Miami's GIG01. And Miami is a 2960 switch.